Hi, good morning, everyone, and thank you so much to Ivy and to the Costume Design Guild for allowing me to do this and for hosting this exciting class. I'm the founder of the 705 Union for the Green Committee, which was started in September of 2020. And I'm also a member of the Costume Design Guild. I'm from London, as you might be able to tell, and I have two passions, which are costuming and the planet. And that's why I'm very happy to be able to bring this class to you and to share as much as information as I can. So let's get started. Thank you so much for those joining us this morning and for everyone watching this class. Really appreciate it. So this morning's class is sustainable costuming, and we're going to be focusing on reducing, reusing, and recycling. So my inspiration to costume design was the amazing Alicia Silverstone and Mona May, and I just wanted to have this opportunity to wish them a happy 25th birthday and thank you for the inspiration. My favourite scene, of course, being Pismo beach relief disaster scene. So I just wanted to wish you a happy 25th because you really inspired me for my career in costume design. So let's look at what recycling means. Recycling definition is the action or process of converting waste into reusable material. A call for recycling of all paper. Waste material set aside to be recycled. Then we have sustainability, the ability to be maintained at a certain rate or level. So why is it important to know the impact of our industry and what that impact is having on our planet? Cotton has a major impact on our planet, which I'll be going more into later in the class. 1 pound of textile emits 7 pounds of CO2. The average t-shirt wastes 700 gallons of water. 300 million Americans, if we were to recycle just one t-shirt, we would recover 210 billion gallons of water and keep 1 million pounds of CO2 out of our atmosphere. And on that note, I just want to say that when I found out the impact that producing cotton t-shirts has on our planet, it led me to want to do and learn more about sustainability because I couldn't quite believe the amount of water and waste that is produced from just one t-shirt. The other image here that we see is the impact that dye has. A lot of dye, when we're dyeing textiles and fabrics, the runoff does go sadly into wildlife. So this is the size of 1 ton of CO2. CO2 we can't see, but for example, on a year, an average American car will produce 7 tons of CO2. So did you know one cotton t-shirt requires approximately 2,700 litres of water to produce? That's enough for one person to drink for 900 days. Now let's think about how many t-shirts I have in my closet, you have in your closet, how many we have at work, how many we have in this country and in the world. You know, those numbers are quite surprisingly high. So 20 to 40,000 litres of water are used to make a single pair of jeans and t-shirt. 5.5 billion cubic meters, which is the equivalent of 14.6 million swimming pools, are used to make all the clothes in the UK every single year. Did you know one load of drying uses 5 times more energy than washing? One load of washing uses 40 gallons of water. So if we were to save on drying and ironing, we would save 1/3 of our t-shirt carbon footprint. So if there's any way of not using our dryers at home or at work, if we could, you know, perhaps use more friendly ways of putting them on hangers and then drying them in the sunshine or on a clothes horse or something of that nature, we could be saving quite a lot of our carbon footprint. Now, anyone that wants to learn more about their carbon footprint as an individual, or if you want to learn more about what carbon footprint means and what that's doing to our planet, please go and check out the amazing website www.epa.gov. There is a carbon footprint calculator and a lot of information. There's also an online course you can take, which I'll be mentioning further on in the class. So did you know 17 to 20% of all industrial water pollution is caused by the dyeing and manufacturing process? Now, all of these pictures here are of dyes that are running off into our lakes, rivers, and oceans. So did you know the denim dilemma? Synthesizing indigo dye for denim requires a number of toxins, including formaldehyde. In some parts of the world, rivers near denim mills run blue, contaminating and killing fish and affecting the health of workers and residents. Did you know each year 5 billion pounds of waste is generated through returns? Globally, 80% of discarded textiles are doomed for the landfill or incineration. Only 20% are actually reused or recycled. The clothing that ends up in landfills can sit there for 200 plus years, and as it decomposes, it emits methane, a greenhouse gas more potent than carbon. Yes, something that really shocked me was during this process of putting this class together, you know, I obviously thought and was naive in thinking so that when we do our returns on the shop floors, that, you know, that textile, that garment would go back onto the shop floor to be resold. But sadly, depending on the manufacturer and their choice or their rules of how they regulate those returns, a lot of those go back onto landfills, which is very sad. So how can we make a difference in our departments in costume? The choices we make do make a big difference. So now I'm going to be going into recycling and having a closer look at how we can recycle more and what that means in our department. So we're going to be looking at decomposing. So when we're putting things in the bin, how long those take to decompose. So I've just listed here, and this information can be found online, some of the things that we throw away and how long they take to decompose. Some of them being rather long. You know, a plastic bag could take anywhere from 200 to 1,000 years, which is a very long time. Plastic bottles, 450 years. A rubber boot sole, 50 to 80 years. Leather shoes, 25 to 40 years. And then we look at more organic matter, like an apple core, 2 months, banana peel, 3 to 4 weeks, orange peel, 6 months. So quite a big difference there in organic and produced materials. So if we can have a look at what we're throwing away and to see if we can recycle that item as opposed to throwing it into landfill. Because once it goes to landfill, this is sort of what we're looking at. So basically recycling is creating a loop, and what we're trying to do is just make sure that one product has a new life. So for instance, a plastic bottle, I've learned that a plastic bottle will never come back after recycling as another plastic bottle. Excuse me. It will either get downcycled into some kind of fabric in a garment. So for instance, if I do use something of plastic, say a bottle, I will try and use that bottle a lot, wash it out and reuse it as much as I can before I put it in the recycling, because I'm just trying to elongate the life of that product. And so using that metaphor, if you can find to apply that to anything in your department, whether it's a hanger, a t-shirt or a plastic bag or a garment bag, if we can just find a way to reuse and keep them in this recycling loop for as long as possible, that will really help our planet, as opposed to just using them once and then getting them or putting them into the garbage, which just means it's got a very short lifespan and it's not in a loop. We're ending that loop as soon as we put it in the garbage. Whereas if we recycle it or reuse it at home or in our departments, then we're just helping that garment have a longer lifespan. So this shows us what I've been talking about, just the recycling loop and, you know, that new life. And then it obviously not going to the trash, having an innovation, going into a new product, and thus completing the loop. And basically, this is trying to have a zero waste impact on the planet, which is a hard thing to do, but it is basically our end goal. But even if we don't get to zero waste in the first steps, if at least one can recycle a bit more, I think that's a really good step. So I've gone to some resources here online that I found that I feel are really helpful, because I feel like recycling is an education. There is so much to learn and to find out. And I feel like if you're watching from Los Angeles, there are some, you know, the waste management system here is really helpful. And their website, Waste Management and Athena Services, are two places that offer really good education on what you can dispose of and what you can recycle. It also breaks down in a lot of information what you can put in the specific trash cans, such as the blue, the green, and the black. So I've taken some of that information and I've put them here for us to look into. So things that one can recycle and that are recycled curbside are all plastics from numbers 1 to 7, and we'll go into those numbers shortly, except for foam cups or packing materials, aluminium foil products such as cans, baking tins and foil, paper bags, cardboard, clean paper, glass containers, and scrap metal. Some myth busters. Containers must be squeaky clean in order to be recycled. This is false. The reality is that containers should be clean, but don't have to be spotless. So I feel like this is a really important note, especially right now where we find ourselves at this time of COVID. And if anyone's back at work, you'll be seeing a lot more single-use packaging from various departments, such as Crafty, that is serving us food in single-use containers. So if we can take a moment just to wipe them out or run them under a tap, just to get some of the residue off, and then dispose of them into the blue bin, that'll be really helpful right now to the planet, just to do a little thing to really help. The other myth, even if an item shouldn't go in the bin, it will get sorted anyway. This is false. The reality is that non-recyclable items are not accepted curbside. So for anyone thinking that our garbage gets sorted through once it's there at the waste management sites, no, it is not. It is your responsibility to choose what bin it goes to and recycle or put it in the trash. And part of that is knowing where it goes. So I'm hoping that you guys can learn to where it goes in these next little information charts. So accepted in your bin, this again is an online resource available for us all. So you can recycle these items. Plastic bottles and containers, flattened cardboard and paperboard, food and beverage cans, food and beverage containers, paper and glass bottles and containers. These are all recyclable items. So these cannot be recycled curbside, meaning that it does go, you do need to go a little bit extra afield to get these recycled, but they are recyclable. The major one is plastic bags. Plastic bags are not accepted curbside. Plastic wrap and film, which we use a lot in our department, these are not recyclable curbside. No flexible packaging, no cups with wax or plastic coatings, and no polystyrene, foam and plastic. But there are places that do recycle these items. It just takes a little bit more information. For anyone that does want to find out where you can recycle these, there is a fantastic app that you can download called iRecycle. And I highly recommend that you look that up. You can literally search the item that you're trying to recycle, and it will pop up in a map format where they accept those items. Anyone right now may experience some difficulties with COVID. Some places are not accepting due to COVID, but they are places worth noting for future reference. So these are the numbers that we were talking about earlier. On every product, most products, man-made products, normally at the bottom on the label, you'll find a classification of what number they are. So then each group you can reference or Google or look up what that number means, if it's recyclable, and how one can recycle it. Generally, plastic groups 1 to 2, so that's the triangle with 1 and 2, they can be picked up curbside, out of bag and clean. Plastic groups 3 to 7, recycling centres accept and waste haulers do as well. When I say out of bag, I have to admit that I was quite surprised at basically, once you've put your trash in a bag and you've tied it up, the gases that we know of that are so harmful to the environment, methane, are built up inside that bag because of all the various, imagine if you've got a banana and then a plastic bottle and then some food scraps. When all of those elements are decomposing inside the bag, that gas is created inside and it doesn't have anywhere to go. So I was quite surprised to learn that a lot of things we are meant to not put in a trash can. We are actually meant to give them straight into the blue cans out of bags. So that's something interesting worth noting. Again, in each of these slides, I have put where I found this information. This particular site was ca.gov. So just to break down of what we've learnt, we can recycle fabric and textiles, clothing, hangers, single-use plastic, printers, sewing machines, and plastic wrap. Something to think of. Can you think of any more that we can add to this list? And I'd love to know at the end of the class if you have anything else that we think we can recycle. So where we can recycle, like I mentioned, please look into downloading the iRecycle app or the amazing Earth 911 recycling database. Earth 911 is also on Instagram, and I have used them a lot to find out where I can recycle certain things. They are also really quick to answer like DM messages on Instagram. You could literally DM them, and I've had a response within 1 to 3 hours. And they are really helpful about where to recycle things right now. And even during COVID, they're aware of what's being accepted and not. So please, please look into these 2 resources as they are incredible and very, very helpful. Recycling clothing and textiles. Again, if anyone's watching this currently, be aware that right now, for instance, I know H&M is not collecting during COVID, but on a regular basis, H&M do offer garment recycling, as do Uniqlo. So H&M, the Swedish company's most visible nod to the environment is its garment recycling initiative, which offers customers a discount if they drop unwanted clothing off at any of the company's 4,500 stores. And I believe that that clothing does not have to be H&M, it could be any clothing. Uniqlo, clothing deemed unwearable, are transformed into energy in the form of calorie-dense solid fuel. Solid fuels substitute fossil fuels and are used for industrial purposes such as for boilers and paper manufacturing. So again, Uniqlo are offering a recycling scheme, which sounds fantastic in that they're making the clothing not into more clothing, but actually into a fuel. Again, please check their websites to see if they're offering this at the moment. Recycling clothing and textiles, these are some of the places where we can look into recycling clothing and textiles that we have. There are many, many more. These are just some of them I've noted. Donating to thrift stores such as Goodwill, Salvation Army. I also want to note that there are some really good places such as Suits for Success, Thrive for Life, and One Man's Treasure. I want to take a minute and just saying that these are amazing companies in that they offer clothing to be donated in the form of suits and other nicer garments. Basically, it offers people that are coming out of prison to then wear a suit, for example, to a job interview, giving them a real opportunity back into life, and creating a really nice cycle, I think anyway, in giving them a chance to look good for a job interview, and giving them maybe some more chance of success in their future. So that's Suits for Success and Thrive for Life and One Man's Treasure. I also know that currently Los Angeles Mission, which donates to anything from homeless to the education system to prisoners, again, that's a really nice charity-based initiative to donate to, because they make sure that the products and the garments that you're donating get into the hands of people that really need it. So if anyone's unaware, I've also started a Facebook group called the Green Costume Department, where we're having lots of fun right now, and people are really grasping it in that we're basically switching out and swapping anything from leftover fabrics to kits to racks. You can go on and click on it, and it is a private group, so I will need to let you join. And then once you're in the group, you can post and share any pictures that you'd like to swap. If someone is wrapping on a production, they may want to donate to someone that is prepping. If you have any leftover hangers, garment bags, labels, tags, anything at all, this is a really good place to switch and help each other in our department to share. So please join. Upcycling and anything with clothing and textiles, free cycling, which again is sharing, and there are lots of apps right now where you can share even with your neighbors, so that's something worth Googling. Two good places that are accepting clothing and textiles are TerraCycle and, as I mentioned before, Earth 911. You can also call me. I've given you my cell phone number here. I am very passionate about this. Like I said at the top of the class, costume and the planet are my two passions. So I will gladly answer your queries. I will try and put you in touch with whomever you're trying to get in touch with, whether you're trying to recycle, donate, or if you need any help with recycling or being more sustainable, please reach out. I'm always here and I'd love to help. So recycling plastic wrap and plastic bags, which are something which we use so much in our departments, please do try and keep them separated, as they do tangle and will, create havoc in wildlife. So if you can try and keep them single and find where you can recycle. TerraCycle right now is a great place to recycle plastic. If you call Earth 911 or if you go onto iRecycle, I know that, for instance, our garment bags can be recycled at Albertsons, Wands and Gelsons. However, in my experience at this time with COVID, they're not accepting, or some aren't accepting. So do call ahead of time and check. Another great resource is Athens Recycling, which is one of LA's waste management services. They can also help you in recycling plastic wrap and plastic bags. But again, I do feel like if you don't have time to do any of this, a good thing to do is just reuse. If you have a plastic bag, reuse it. If you have a garment bag, try and reuse it. Recycling hangers. So I did some detective work and calls such as the beloved La Cienega. They do require wire or paper hangers all the time, and I'm very happy to pick them up. Also check out your local dry cleaners. They may also be accepting hangers. Free cycle programs such as, like we discussed, donating and free cycling to neighbors. Thrift stores, sorry about the spelling there. Thrift stores also always want hangers and are always very happy to accept them. And also, of course, you can use the green costume department, like we discussed before, to offer to another production and costume department. So these are some great resources here that I've done a lot of homework through these websites, and take a screenshot and remember these for later. You can also do your own investigations and find out more if you'd like to. These are really great resources and will help you in your mission to be more sustainable. So next this morning, we're going to be looking at reusing. So upcycling is a fantastic way of reusing. I found two of these remarkable examples on the internet. Here we can see that an amazing designer has taken denim and reused it to recreate a fantastic jacket. And also on the other side has combined different fabrics with denim to create another extraordinary jacket design. So can we as designers, can we recreate from maybe a show that we've just wrapped on, and maybe we're starting a new show? Could we perhaps look at and stretch our design imagination to upcycle? It's sort of an interesting thing to look at. What is upcycling? So upcycling conserves the environment, reforms a product into a new product, unlimited available usage of raw materials, better quality, designed unique, handmade, limited editions. Upcycling versus recycling, recycling being conserves the environment, reforms a product into a material, limited available usage of raw materials, and requires processes to break down the original material. So I feel strongly like upcycling is definitely a really great way to give a new life to a garment or a product without it going into the recycling loop, which then, as we're seeing here, requires more processes. And just like I spoke before about the plastic bottle, it never gets recreated into a plastic bottle. It does get broken down, and there is a process that does, use chemicals and such. So I do feel like upcycling is maybe a bit more environmentally friendly and definitely more creative. So here are some amazing examples that I found. This, for instance, being belts that's being used as containers, which I found fantastic. There are materials we can upcycle and repurpose to make amazing stuff for our homes or for our work, or even for our kit bags. you know, I would take this over a new kit bag any day. I think that's amazing. Swapping is such a trend right now. There are lots of apps, like I've mentioned, that are doing swapping right now, whether it's in your neighborhood or on a larger scale. Avoiding basically buying new items. So can we reuse our stock or swap it or exchange it with others? Can it be swished? Swished is a big trend, which basically is swapping, but it's being called swishing. There are apps right now that you can swish on, and just Google the word swish and many websites will come up where one can swish and swap. How can we reuse, or what can we reuse? We can reuse poly bags, hangers, tags, shoe bags, onion bags, clothing, pins, fabric, paper, printers, tables, chairs, and racks. Can you think of any more we can add to the list? So I feel like definitely in our costume department, um, you know, we do buy quite a lot of new items every time we start a new production up. We always buy sort of the same kit, tags, hangers, racks, rack covers, garment bags. It's sort of the same thing over and over. And basically what I'm trying to encourage here is, you know, can we reuse, instead of at the end of wrapping a production of throwing away those items, you know, if we can just hang on to them and reuse them, give them another lease of life, then that will be really helpful for the planet right now. If anyone's watching right now during COVID, please do be mindful about obviously disinfecting things before reusing them. Reducing. So we're going to be looking at how to reduce. Reducing microplastic pollution by 52%. So how can we do this? If we wash our clothing on a cooler and faster wash, we can reduce microfiber pollution by 52% and chemical dye release by 74%. You'll also use 66% less energy per load. So if we can really encourage our department to choose a cooler and shorter wash cycle, this would be really good for the environment. Microfiber, of course, and microplastic being the fibers that are released every time we wash our clothing. And in the costume department, we do wash quite a lot. And if we can reduce that cycle and reduce those dryer techniques, I feel like that would be a really good thing to start doing, and it will have a big impact on our carbon footprint. So we could reduce our chemical dyeing and use natural dyes as an alternative. So obviously this isn't for everyone, and I know that some productions, it's all, you know, it will be difficult to adopt natural dyes because sometimes we need that certain color. But I think this is really interesting information for anyone who would like to adopt a more natural dye for fabrics, having seen the effect that dye does have on the environment, it being washed off into the oceans and our rivers, which does cause a lot of an environmental impact. So I thought these were really interesting. Obviously, this is also historic, as in a lot of our paints and fabrics were always dyed using these natural dyes. Then in modern times, we've adopted, you know, modern techniques of dyeing. So some of these, like onion skins, logwood, walnut shells, eucalyptus, cochineal, and pomegranate, all can be used as natural dyes for fabric. So how could we reduce fast fashion? Fast fashion being, you know, garments that are produced rapidly, with, you know, a lot of impact on those people that are making it, on the environment, and also for us buyers. Sometimes it's not the best quality. And generally, it's having a bigger impact on the environment. So how can we support more sustainable fashion? So here I have compiled a list of designers. I'm going to read through them here. So Stella McCartney produces eco-friendly, pioneering designs, offers sustainable wardrobe alternatives. Sandra Sandor, clothing made from vegan leather and upcycled materials. Eileen Fisher, recycled textiles and garments, luxurious and sustainable clothing. Vivienne Westwood, my own personal favourite, a fair trade apparel company, 100% organic cotton collection. Katie Jones, knitwear made from unclaimed materials. Spencer Phipps, designs with eco-fabric. Mara Hoffman, women's and swimwear made from pre and post-consumer waste. Steph Gabriel, swimwear. Maggie Marilyn, ethically sourced clothing. Rag & Bone, denim recycling program since 2017 called Blue Jeans Go Green. Kelly Slater, 100% ethical menswear. John Patrick, men and women's eco fashion. Hilary Taymor, recycled and repurposed clothing. Also some brands, Ocean Zen Swimwear, Colleen Estrada, and Nanushka. I've gone on to every single designer website and I've looked into what their speciality and how they're having a lower impact on the planet. And I would say this list is a creative wonderland of exploration for anyone that does want to dive into sustainable fashion and support them. Really interesting to go onto their website and read a little bit more about their mission and their product. I highly recommend it. Reducing the impact of cotton. So I spoke a little bit before earlier in the class about how cotton is really such a big impact on our environment. And if we were to choose, for instance, even an organic cotton over a regular cotton, this would already be a big help. So regular cotton farming starts with GMO or genetically modified seeds. Organic cotton is made from natural seeds and there is no use of pesticides or other harmful chemicals. Bugs are controlled with insects that kill the pests. As a result, organic cotton products are safer for the skin. Organic cotton is grown without harmful chemicals, leaving the soil, air, and water free from contaminants that cause harm. Organic cotton produces around 46% less CO2 compared to conventional cotton. That's a lot. It also uses far less water to grow since organic cotton growers typically utilize rain far more than irrigation. So also, I don't know if anyone's familiar with organic cotton, but if you have an organic cotton t-shirt in one hand and a regular cotton in the other, you will feel the difference. Organic cotton also feels wonderful. It is super soft. And by all means, I would support in trying to buy organic cotton where you can. This list that I've provided is also an alternatives for vegan fabrics. So in the list we have hemp, bamboo, organic cotton, linen, EcoNil, which is ocean trash recycled, lyocell, modal, and tencel, which are woods, Pinatex, which is pineapple leather, Kumonos, which is a synthetic spider silk synthetic spider silk. Then we have cork, Deserto, which is cactus leather, and Viyayama, which is eucalyptus. You can also Google sustainable fabrics, vegan leathers, and many alternatives will come up. And it's exciting to have spoken to costume designers and find out that more and more productions as we go into the future are using these different fabrics. More and more talent is requesting not to use regular leather and to look at alternatives such as the cactus leather. So that's really exciting. So this is a list of how we can reduce. We can reduce by not using fast fashion. We can reduce our use of fabric dye, synthetic fabrics, cotton fabrics, paper, single-use plastic, plastic bags, electric power usage, water usage, car fuel emissions, and harmful soaps and detergents. Can you think of any more we can add to the list? We can discuss that at the end of class if you do. So, as I mentioned before, I founded the Green Committee at the 705 Union, and I'm very proud to have done so. And I'm so grateful for the support that I've had from my fellow members and from the executive board and my president and my vice president. If you would like to find out more, please take note of that email. If there are any dual members watching, please become a member if it would interest you. And like I said, we are always interested in hearing from you. So please drop us a note and say hello. We'd love to hear from you. I've made a list here of some more information and clarification if you'd like to do your own detective work or find out anything more from what we've been discussing this morning. These are some of the links. Please take a screenshot. Just move my little window here. So Earth 911, I've discussed a lot, recycling guides and locations. TerraCycle recycles hard to recycle materials. They also offer boxes which you can place in your departments. They will drop off the box and you can then place it in your department to fill with scraps and fabrics and garments. And they will then pick up the box and recycle it. So there is a fee for that, but it's not a lot. I believe it's around the $100 mark for each box. And that does include the pickup, drop off and processing. LA Share transfers reusable goods to schools and nonprofit organizations. Then we have the incredible Earth Angel, which offers recycling programs for film and TV. Real waste and recycling, collection and recycling service from On Location. So if you want to try and encourage your production, being, every single department, Real Waste and Recycling offer an amazing program in that they will kit out the entire production with recycling boxes and processes and help having the entire production or film or TV show be more sustainable. So if you want to try and reach out further than the costume department, please do look into that. It's really interesting. Freecycling.org, giving stuff for free in local neighborhoods, and the fantastic crew at WM Waste Management Haulers, who either Waste Management or Athens Services are the amazing crew that pick up our trash here in Los Angeles. If you go on their websites, they offer so much useful information. Information about recycling, information about reusing, information about their processes, really interesting. And for me, they are a modern day hero. So please wave at them and be nice to them when you see them picking up our trash in the morning. So further reading, here are some more websites and places you can go for further information. Again, earth911.com, worldwildlife.org, bbcearth.com, greenproductionguide.com, wearealbert.co.uk, thegreenfilmmaking.com, and the Costume Directory. The fantastic Costume Directory, if you are not familiar with it, was created by the incredible Irish costume designer Sinead Cadell. It is an open resource which connects designers and buyers with suppliers and brands who prioritize sustainability, environmental responsibility, and fair trade. It explains the things to consider when choosing a supplier, brand, or factory, and also provides links to cooperatives, individual artisans, and weavers across the world who are sustainable traditional crafts in local environments. This is a really important resource for anyone. I would encourage you to get it. It is available in electronic and available as a printed edition. I will also be interviewing Sinead Cadell on November 29th on my IG live, which is at the Green Garment Geek Girl. I'll put that in the chat later. But I'm so looking forward to meeting Sinead, and I think that she is another one of my heroes for creating this amazing directory. She was one of the reasons why I wanted to start the sustainable movement in costume and costume design, because I could see that there was such a calling for it, and she definitely has helped in starting the landscape and setting a greener future for us all. So thanks, Sinead. I think you're amazing. So some online courses that I have done myself that I would encourage you to do if you are intrigued by anything that we've been talking about today, from the carbon footprinting to running a more sustainable film production. These are 3 really good resources: the Green Spark Group, Real Green, and Creative BC. So a lot of people think that by being sustainable, it's going to cause a lot of budget problems and time consuming, and why would we do that, and all sorts of questions. But being sustainable does save money. If we can reuse a box of safety pins, that's money that we're saving from our budget. So being sustainable does save money. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 saved 5% of its total waste hauling expensive, or $4,732 through its recycling and composting efforts. Additionally, 49.7 tons worth of construction and set decoration materials were sold to other shows or donated to non-profits at WRAP, with 1-ton dumpsters costing an average of $950 each. That's a whopping saving of $47,215. So that's a lot of money. And also, just in our department, like I said, by reusing and taking a little bit of time to put in those processes of installing some recycling boxes, or thinking about donating, or trying to swap and swish, these are all things that, apart from being kind to the environment, they also save us money. If on the Facebook page, the Green Costume Department, if someone's donating 10 white t-shirts for free, those are 10 white t-shirts that you or your supervisor doesn't have to buy. So I really do encourage you to, after taking this class, to do some more further looking into how in your department or in your next production you could be a little bit greener, and also save some money at the same time, and also save the planet. So that concludes today's class.